making his Blue Jay debut. And talk about a strong start. First two batters of the game, Dragon Dozier and Eduardo Nunez down on strikes. However, game now tied at one top for Price and a bases loaded, no out jam. But Eddie Rosario pops to shallow center. Nice play by Troy Tulowitzki. Then it's Aaron Hicks caught looking at strike three. Eduardo Nunez grounds out on Price's final pitch. He was sensational. 8 innings, 1 run, 11 Ks. He set down the final 15 batters he faced.
Heartbreakers, time has come, you take your dream away. Go away, heartbreaker.
Oh, boy, yeah. A lot of heartbreaking going on with the Twins these days. How many more heartbreakers can we take? How many more heartbreakers can we take? We are live. It is a Twins Tuesday. How many more heartbreakers? Well, now the question is...
Where do we go from here, now that all of the children are grown?
Where, in fact, do we go from here? Alan Parsons and his project want to know, where do we go from here? Hello, everybody. Twins Tuesday, live from Floyd's in Victoria, and we have assembled an all-star team of men who have the answers to that question. This is the biggest roster of Twins Tuesday I've ever seen. Most of them are strangers to me. I trust they know what they're talking about. Let's throw the ball around. My name is Rusty Gateby. To my right.
Hey, Patrick Donnelly from any freelance outlet near you. So
wow,
good to see you.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Colin Magnuson on Twitter at bartender Colin, just the local yoo-hoo.
Bartender Colin, you love him, you know him.
All right, I'm Andrew Briscorni. I write at the SB Nation blog Twinkie Town, and then I also work for Inside Edge.
And wearing a Twins jersey.
No, it's a Snappers jersey.
Oh, the same colors. I should have
Same,
my...
yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, what Snappers?
Snappers, they're before we were in Beloit. We were in we're in Wisconsin.
Team has now since moved to Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Rapids, that's right. Yeah.
The low A.
It's not a Red Lobster offshoot.
2 years ago, I went and saw Sano get thrown out of the game, and I bought this shirt.
It's Isaac Whitty, everybody.
Hey, I'm Isaac Whitty. How are you?
I'm good. Isaac, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
How's everything?
Things are really good. Here I am.
And you're a baseball fan.
I'm a big baseball guy. Yeah. I'm a big Twins guy. I don't know about the league. I'm just a Twins fan. You know?
Well, if you're a comedian, the Twins are a good team to follow the last 4 or 5 years. Sure. Plenty of fodder for jokes, right?
What has happened? What has happened? Lest we forget, they were the number one Minnesota Twins. Not too many.
We had the second best record in the league for a little while there, I believe.
Yeah.
Patrick, you saw it coming, though, right?
Kind of. I mean, it felt all along like this was a team that was playing over its head. It's got a lot of flaws, and they're winning a lot of close games. And eventually, we've been saying it all along, kind of been the theme of the year is regressing to the mean, and that's what they've been doing, is sort of regressing back to the average.
Regressing to the mean.
Yeah.
But a little bit of this seems almost beyond regressing. It seems like it's now swung over to the opposite direction.
But when you look at the whole picture in total, it's about what we expect. It's still better than what we expected. I mean, who would have thought back in March that they'd be sitting here first week in August, 3 games over 500 and still in the wild card running? I would have said, hey, that's awesome. They must be doing great. Well, they peaked at, 11, 12 games over maybe?
Yeah.
Right now they're 3 games over for the first time. The last time they were only 3 games over 500 was on
May
14th. May 14th. Oh yeah, it's in this one. May 14th they were 19 and 16.
And I was almost honestly surprised to see that at that point in time they were already 3 games over 500. I guess I remember that May was a very successful month for this team, but I thought it maybe took a little more time than that after the disastrous April. But yeah, May 14th, the last time they were only 3 games over 500. It kind of shows how these last 3 weeks have gone.
Well, they really surged in April too. It was what was it? What were they, 20-9 or something like that? It was ridiculous. So that was playing over their heads, and there are all kinds of reasons we can get into for what is going on right now. But right now it's been some pretty ugly baseball. In the last Thursday, they had 13 hits in their win over Seattle. In the last 4 games, or the 4 games since then, they've had 14 hits. So,
yikes!
Yeah. So you can start right there at the offense, I guess. But what else are you guys seeing?
Oh, the bullpen's still a problem, right? I mean, this is what we went into the All-Star break wanting to fix and wanting to work on, and we come out of it with one guy, and that guy in one appearance has given up, 3 runs in an inning and took the loss. So, we knew what the problem was going into the trade deadline, and it's still a problem coming out of it as far as we can tell.
And, I mean, it's kind of exemplified with Trevor May now, who's been pulled out of the rotation, put in the bullpen, and now I think the Twins even come out and said there's no shot of him starting for the rest of the season. They expect him to be one of those late-inning relievers now from here to the end of the year.
And that's out of necessity.
Yeah, he's just too valuable. He's just too valuable to them in that role.
Well, also, it's like we just have a rotating shortstop. We can't find anybody to step up and be the shortstop for the Twins. I'd also really like to see a lot more offense come out of the catcher position, even though Suzuki was just walking on water last year.
Yeah. Should we play the Suzuki's highlight from Seattle? It sounds better, by the way, when it's put to Benny Hill music. Here's that ninth inning the other night. Wait, no, that's not it. That's the here's the other night with Benny Hill music.
Yakety sax.
After scoring the ninth, the man on second, 1 out. Carson Smith facing Torrey Hunter. That's a wild pitch. Shane Robinson goes to third. 2 batters later, Kurt Suzuki at the plate. It's another wild pitch. Shane Robinson comes in to score. Just like that, we're tied at 2. Eddie Rosario would steal third. Suzuki then comes through with a base hit to left. In the score comes Rosario, and the Twins improbably come from behind, winning it in walk-off fashion by a final of 3-2. Suzuki goes 2 for 4 with the game-winning RBI.
That was some crazy stuff. And I will say he's been my whipping boy for the last month or so, and he is starting to come around a little bit at the plate at least. He's getting some hard hit outs. He's gotten a couple hits here and there. He's still nowhere near what he was, at the first 4 months of last year, which was a complete aberration for what he'd been his entire career. Yeah. So what the Twins thought they saw in 4 months of Suzuki to give him that extension, whatever it was, that's come back to bite him.
And was it a 2-year extension? 2-year extension? Okay.
So this year and next.
And what has been, Patrick, I think we would all agree, a little bit of an aberration from his career is the fact that he was always known as a pretty stout defender, a pitcher-friendly catcher most of his career, and I honestly feel like this year, and I'm a little bit overcritical because I played catcher my whole, non-existent career. He's been poor behind the plate. Whether it's, maybe not calling the game, that's something you'd have to talk to the starting pitching about, but blocking the ball and throwing runners out, he has been downright putrid.
He blocked one in the gonads the other day. Did you see that?
Which means he didn't do it on purpose.
Ouch. They slowed that replay down. I'm like, don't show that again.
I told you he had some hard-hit balls. So wait, who's the comedian here?
So we need help in the catching area, although Suzuki is trying to. Do you think he hears he does. He hears the criticism.
He's got to.
So he's like, I got to step my game up or I'm in trouble.
Although I don't know what I don't know what his social media presence is. He's not. I don't follow him on Twitter, so I don't know if he has a Twitter or if he does. If he does anything. But I'm sure he hears it at the park, and he's smart. He can read. He can see numbers. I'm sure he can figure out that he's not getting the job done offensively. So yeah, that's a continuing concern. Like Isaac said, shortstop is just who knows what they're going to do. They had Santana up for a second look. They brought Polanco back up for a look when Plouffe went on the paternity leave list, and then they sent them both back down. And now we're back with the revolving Eduardos.
Yep.
Yeah.
Today they're going back to Nunez, and I don't know. They need. I guess you stick Nunez in there when your offense is struggling and you need a bat, and he's their best option. But then could wind up costing him. I guess you could also say it's safer to play him on a day when Hughes is pitching, because how many ground balls is he going to get? Everything, especially against the Blue Jays, everything will be over the fence or to the warning track anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, when we last were talking, we were kicking around what should they do with the trade deadline, and that trade deadline came and went on Friday. Wow, we did some powerful moves, didn't we?
Yeah, Jepson he was a closer for the Angels back in 2011, maybe 2012. Yeah. I don't have it right in front of me, but he was sort of a non-entity. He was so-so. moved his way back into sort of a setup roles. He's bounced around from a couple organizations, and now he's here. And he's, like Colin said, his first time out. They waited like 3 days to use him, including an extra inning game. I thought for sure he'd get in there, and then they finally do bring him in, and he just spits the bit.
Yeah. I'm mesmerized by the service here. Bartender Colin, what is the max amount of food you can have one guy serve? That was an entire Grand Slam tray full of food.
That's pretty close.
They're serving Denny's food here?
Hey, wrong terminology. I'm sorry.
That's pretty close. That's pretty close to all a guy can handle.
He did it. All of it without dropping one French fry.
Tray.
Yeah, right. He's tall and he's got big hands.
Way to
so
go.
his drop radius is less than most.
We are, of course, at Floyd's here in Victoria, and we neglected to run down any specials going on today. Will there be wings with some secret?
Oh, absolutely, Rusty.
Sauce going.
That's as big a part of Tuesday as anything else we do here at Floyd's. We've got the grilled wings on the patio, a dozen for I think it's $11, $19 for 2 dozen, and basically this week we kind of went back in the time machine. We went back to about 3 weeks ago when we did Parmesan garlic, and he got so many requests to do it again, and so many people liked it that he's doing. Justin, the mad scientist back there, is doing Parmesan garlic this week. So if anybody's interested, try some grilled wings. Justin's pretty killer at kicking those sauces out.
And the sun, of course, is shining. The deck is starting to fill up. And as always out here on the deck, we seem to have more ladies than dudes, which is fine.
Always happens.
Listen
Optimal.
to them. You need to come up here and ask a question and get a free beer, although they're in the mojito. Are those mojitos you're having? Come on up here and ask anything. You can ask anything, and we will give you a lovely Coors Light on ice, because Coors Light is a friend of the show. We've got a table with the cowboy over there. He's drinking the cold beer. Hello, sir.
Actually, a good friend of mine, Jerry Livingston, trains down at Canterbury Park, and he's in the house today. I know he's a big fan of the Twins as well. So
what does he do at Canterbury?
He's a trainer.
Horse guy.
A very successful...
Now the Twins should have drafted a horse. A horse would have been fine.
Well, Rusty, and that's another thing I wanted to mention this week. The first time I was ever on the show was about a month and a half ago, almost 2 months ago. It was the week after American Pharoah won the Triple Crown, and we had some horse jokes, and we were all excited about it. American Pharoah ran again on Sunday, destroyed the competition yet again. So we're getting away from the Twins a little bit, but I want to throw a little shout out to American Pharoah. He's a big fan of mine. He's a big fan of that table over there.
They're Pharaoh fans over there.
That's right.
He's a fan of the show, too. I hear he
absolutely.
Listens
it's
to
a shame that show Luck on HBO went away. Did you guys watch that show?
Yeah,
that was a good show.
How many horses kept dying in the making of it, right?
Yep.
They had to pull the plug.
Like 3-4 horses.
Great show. It was just starting to get going. And
Dustin Hoffman, right?
Yeah, Dustin.
One
of Dustin Hoffman's best roles.
Yeah, that was actually one of those shows where it really did have the potential to have some success. And like you said, PETA basically put that kibosh on that.
They said the horses kept dying like when they would want to get close shots, and it would spook the horses. Like, why not just wide shots? I mean, is that really why anyone was watching? Like, I watched because of the close-ups of the horses. Like,
I blame Obama.
Me too.
Yeah.
Were they dying, or was this some kind of like a suicide pact? What was going on?
I heard that. I think when they're in the thing, when they're just about to take off, they would get spooked and jump and hit their head. It's really horrible.
Yeah, it's not good.
Great show though. Really good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack.
Well, no. Watch how we do this. So, if you were a betting man, where would you place your money on the Twins getting one of the wild card spots?
Right now, the Twins have the image of a speed horse that's going out to the lead, set a little bit too fast of fractions, and they are now being closed upon by the field.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at what they've got coming up. I mean, So, since the All-Star break, they went into the All-Star break at 49-40. So 9 games over. They won their first game out of the break, actually. So they're 10 games over.
Gave us hope. We thought it's for real.
Since that win in Oakland in the 5-0 game that Palouf had the Grand Slam and Santana threw the shutout, they've been 4-11 since that win. And like I said, they're only 3 games over now. And coming up is what's a little more frightening. Right now, they've got 3 more yet at Toronto, which is their own personal house of horrors. They never, from Nishioka tripping over everything to on a more serious note, Morneau getting his career-altering concussion. That was in Toronto. I mean, just nothing since they won the ALCS there in '91. I don't think they've won a game there since.
Morneau got hurt there too.
Yeah, kind of feels like
that's
that.
where
damn Canadians.
Nishioka's first series Myers was there, and basically immediately within 3 games,
It
you
was
knew that
obvious.
there was something very seriously wrong.
It
He
was
flubbed the first 2 balls that were hit to him, didn't he?
Did not hit the ball with any sort of authority. Everything was like looping the wrists. I mean, you just knew after 3 games, you're going, man, we bought the hype, and we were wrong.
It couldn't have been more. Okay, so they got 3 more at Toronto. They've also yet this month have 3 at the Yankees.
Good.
Who, you know,
Let's take it to the Yankees.
that'd be great, but they never do. They've got 4 at Baltimore. They still have 6 with Houston, 6 more with Kansas City, 4 more at home at least, but with the Angels. 26 games against the top teams in the AL. That's not even counting, I think, 6 more with Detroit, who is, they've given up on the season. They fired their GM, Dave Dombrowski, today, but they still own this Twins team until the Twins prove otherwise.
I don't know, man. Am I just dreaming this, or am I remembering this wrong? Like, didn't we beat the Yankees last year more than we lost? I could have sworn we did.
I think you're right about that.
We did. That I think there's hope.
I got to look that up. I thought I heard that they had not won a season series from the Yankees since before Gardner's day, but I could be wrong.
And they've had some games this year where they were very competitive with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they took it to him in the Friday night game at Target Field. Pretty good.
That game? That was a good game.
3 or 4 home runs, and then the next night they had him going into the 9th inning, and then Perkins. That's kind of where the Perkins avalanche / earthquake has started.
And
A-Rod hit the first pitch about 800 feet for his 3rd home run, and then the next day they lost, and it's kind of snowballed from there.
Yep.
But they've got a killer schedule. What's left is what it boils down to.
Right.
Unless they have 13 games with the Indians, so unless they go 13-0 against the Indians, I think they're going to have a hard time finishing 500. So I would not put any money on the Twins being, your wild card team. If I were a betting man.
Okay, well,
I'd put money on the Twins being 500.
Going 500 the rest of the way?
They wouldn't be. Collectively throughout the whole. But
that won't
go
get,
500, but that would not get them a wild card shot.
No.
what if there's a tie in the wild card?
They have a 1-game playoff.
They do.
To set up the 1-game playoff.
They really?
A series of 1-game playoffs.
Didn't that happen like last year or 2 years ago?
I think it was going to happen 2 years ago, and then it just missed out by 1 day or something.
Right.
But now
And,
I don't know what they do if you had a tie for if the 2 wild cards had the same record, and then the rest of the teams
Right.
below them were out. Well, how would they decide who would get the home game? That I don't know.
So season series, I'm sure.
Yeah, head-to-head record, I suppose.
And that's something that, I mean, it's a little bit farcical because the odds are long against it. But that's something Brandon Warren, whose seat I'm sitting in today, trying to fill the shoes that are much
by
too
the
big
way,
for mine.
congratulations to Brandon. He just bought a new house, so
yes.
he's now
up in St. Michael.
christening each room with
Miss you,
his
buddy.
wife.
I've been following every Twitter and Facebook post. Very jealous because he looks very overjoyed to be in his new, very nice looking home. But Brandon had tweeted something early in the week about what the chances are and what would happen if 3 teams were to tie, whether it's for both wild card spots or for one of them, and what a hodgepodge you could have created. Now, I mean, like I said, it's the odds got to be astronomical, but this game's been played a long time, and it eventually potentially could happen.
Yeah, oh, definitely. It certainly could. And that's what MLB wanted, I think, when they added the extra wild card is, there was that was it 3 or 4 years ago when it came down to the last day and everyone was, Longoria hit the home run for Tampa to tie it or to win it. Dan Johnson hit the home run to tie it. That set up, it set everything in motion. The Yankees had lost. The Red Sox had lost. It was just crazy. And, and everyone was talking about it. And Bud Selig went, people are talking about our sport.
Yep.
Let's see if we can't, capitalize on that.
Trying to put an end to the days of teams having a week of resting pitchers and resting players and everybody knowing who the playoffs were going to be a week before the season was over and nobody cares.
You got the Yankees who didn't quite tank, but they're like, we don't need the division because we want to play the Twins as a wild card team.
Sure. Yeah, that was
who could
2010.
blame them?
Yeah, who could blame them? That worked out really well for them. So, all right, well, here I am. I came prepared today, which is probably a first. And got a little. I wanted to talk a little bit about. Let's talk about Perkins and the backlash that he's facing and his performance. We all know he started off the year with 28 straight saves. Yeah, he was tied the Twins record. He was unhittable. He was unbelievable. He was perfect for 28 saves. And then, since the All-Star break, basically, blew a save at Oakland. Kind of wasn't his fault. Kind of a a pass ball / wild pitch from Suzuki moved the guy into scoring position, and then a bloop single tied the game. Okay, they shrugged that off. And then he got a save in his next outing at Anaheim. So, okay, ship is righted. Since the game at Anaheim, though, a blown save and a loss versus the Yankees. That was the A-Rod game. Then a loss versus the Pirates. And then a score. That was a home run by Kong. The shortstop Kong hit one like 800 feet. Then he had a scoreless inning in a game against Seattle, and then almost took another loss on Sunday when Cruz homered off of him. But Dozier bailed him out with a home run in the bottom of the ninth to get him off the record. But he is, in his last 6 appearances, he's 0-2, 1 save, 2 blown saves, an 11.12 ERA, and a 2+ whip, and he's allowed 4 home runs in 5 2/3 innings. All that leads me to ask, what's wrong with Glenn Perkins?
Well, I'll take the bullet first on this one. This topic that we probably could have an entire show on, depressingly enough. And I do want to mention that, not getting too carried away plugging Brandon's new show on Wednesday, but we are going to talk to Cole DeVries tomorrow on the Breakdown show that Brandon Warren hosts. And we are going to talk to him because one of the topics that's been brought up about Perkins is that his slider seems to be leveling off and seems to be losing some of its cut, some of its bite. We're going to talk to Cole DeVries tomorrow and ask, the technical side, how does this happen? How does the guy who's been pitching his whole life just kind of lose a pitch to some extent? So, without mowing the lawn ahead of time too much for tomorrow, I do want to say he's lost something from his slider. And that's his pitch that keeps people on. That's the pitch that keeps the fastball effective, and it's the pitch that keeps right-handers and left-handers off balance. It's kind of I don't want to say it's an unhittable pitch, but if you don't know it's coming, it's definitely a fool-me strikeout pitch, and he seems to have completely lost any effectiveness he's had with that pitch.
Yeah, I don't really remember some of these other games. I kind of blocked them out from my memory after they happened, but at least with the Seattle one, when he gave up the home run to Cruz, I don't know if you remember, it was a 3-0 count, and he throws him a fastball high in the zone. Now, I don't know if that was by design or what, but Robinson Cano and Seth Smith, 2 left-handed hitters, were coming up right after Cruz. My thought is, with somebody who's hit, I think he's at, 28, 29 home runs now?
Yep.
Why are you throwing to him at 3-0? Why don't you just throw something close out of the zone, see if he chases, maybe he's a little aggressive. If he takes a walk, who cares? You're facing Robinson Cano, who's been struggling this year.
And he just came off the DL, too, right?
Yeah.
Lefty-lefty matchup, like you said.
Yeah, or Seth Smith, who can't hit lefties either. It's why don't you take your chances with them instead of saying, you know what, I'm going to challenge their best hitter. It's always the phrase, don't let this guy beat you.
Yeah.
Well, Cruz beat him.
They say on a 3-0 pitch like that, a hitter's looking for one pitch.
Right.
Perkins threw the one pitch that he was looking for.
Why would he do that?
Well, some of it's location. I mean, one of the things that we're hearing on this last stretch is that he's lost his location. He can't locate the fastball.
So he didn't mean
can't
to do
locate
that.
the slider. That's one way of looking at it. The other thing is, I don't know. He just thought, I still, I'm more macho than you. I'm going to throw it right by you.
Right. And if that's the case, that's an idiot move.
But at some point, the manager also has to stand up and get the 4 fingers in the air to the catcher and just say, put him on. Yeah. Put him on. How many times have you seen that happen to, the Twins' better hitters, when they had better hitters?
And I know this is pretty much common knowledge and something that's done very commonly in Major League Baseball, but the having your closer throw the 9th inning when you're the home team and there's going to be no save situation, it seems to have backfired on the Twins a lot using Perkins in anything other than a save situation. I mean, is there something to that? Is it a different mindset? What's going on with that not working for this team?
Joe Nathan was the same way, if you remember,
yes,
too.
He was.
Nathan was exactly the same way. He would nail down 18 straight saves or whatever, but in between there'd be 4 or 5, 2 or 3, whatever, non-save situations where he'd just get crushed. So I don't know if there is. There's got to be something about the mentality of having that edge, and I would think you're probably a little more aggressive when you got a 1-run lead. You're protecting, whereas if you're got a tie game, maybe you're a little bit more conservative, and when you get conservative, you get scared. Maybe you throw something over the plate. You're trying to be too fine. I guess that's what I would take after it. I'd say I'd ask Perkins about it, but he's a ball player. He's just going to say oh, there's nothing to it.
Well, I was just going to say that, Colin, you're going to see Cole DeVries. I know he hasn't really been a closer, at least not that I know of, but perhaps he can still give the ball player perspective and just say, maybe it's just gearing up for a non-save situation versus safe situation. There is a difference.
Yeah, and Cole's an interesting guy to talk about because he closed and he started, and he talked last week on the show about how a lot of years going going into the season. He didn't know which he was going to be. He didn't really, he didn't spend a lot of time playing Major League Baseball. He played professional baseball for a very solid stretch, and there definitely seems to be something mental about that. It's something that I'm sure Trevor May is kind of trying to work his way and figure out right now. I mean, we've been very adamant on this show that we don't think that's where he should be, but regardless,
but hey, you know what? He comes on and he throws strikes, and he's throwing a little bit harder since he's in the bullpen.
Something like 5 straight scoreless innings, something like that. I mean, he's lowered that ERA from like 9 when his first couple outings down into the low 3 range.
I mean, he's been great. You don't want him to be the guy who's being great.
As soon as one of the starters goes down for some reason, I think that's kind of going to be good news.
Well,
I want May to be in the starting rotation.
And the thing that's funky about that is now you've got Malone going on the 15-day DL, and subsequently Tyler Duffy pitched that day.
Yeah.
They pull him after 36 pitches, I think, in the second inning, and now he's going to start. What is it?
Thursday.
Tomorrow.
All right.
Yep.
So I think
weird move.
It is,
Yes.
and it's just odd. There's very little that I feel that Paul Molitor's been criticizable this year, but the management of who pitches when or who moves to what spot, as far as the pitching staff goes, just seems a little bit peculiar.
Well, some of that has to be on Terry Ryan as well. I mean, not necessarily how you're going to manage the rotation versus the bullpen, but what personnel moves are made. I don't think the manager, especially a rookie manager, even if he's a Hall of Famer, I don't think he's always getting the guy that he wants from AAA or AA. I think that call is very heavily based on what Ryan wants and what he thinks is the right move. So he thinks this Duffy thing is the right move. Well, then let's see it play out, and then see if it's a great move, you slap Terry on the back, and if it's not a great move, it's another brick in the wall, and you're making a case against Terry Ryan being the GM for this team going forward.
Yeah, I know some people want Jose Barrios called up, but if you take a look at their AAA numbers, Tyler Duffy actually was pretty comparable to Barrios. And then the second thing, I kept reading about how Tyler Duffy has allowed 1 home run all year in over 100 innings pitched. And you put him in Toronto against that hitter's lineup, I bet that's probably something that factored into it, is they're thinking Duffy's not going to give up any home runs to them.
As far as that argument goes.
Back to what you're talking about different coaching styles. Like, the thing I did like about Gardy, had Jepsen been called up when Gardy was at the helm, he would have pitched the first day.
Probably,
He always had new guys who came up just they didn't have a chance to sit on the bench and get butterflies. They'd always be on the field the next day. I kind of like that about Gardy.
Yeah, as far as the Duffy versus Barrios comparison goes, I've pretty much been on the show known as saying that Barrios to me is a big piece. I'm excited about him. I think has as much upside as anybody to some extent.
A big piece is a good thing, because when I've been called big piece, that usually is a bad
there's usually a couple words that follow it.
Rusty,
I've been called
you're a
the
big
same.
piece
of bleep. No, I think he's got a big future with this team, and I do feel like it is a little bit rushed. He barely has done anything at AAA. I mean, he's had some success, but he's been there for 3 weeks now. Well, let's let him season a little bit and not throw him into a team that still has some aspirations of making the playoffs, where if he struggles, it could be potentially damaging to his confidence. And Tyler Duffy's, like he said, Tyler Duffy has had enough success that he at least warrants this move. Whether it'll work out or not based on his whole entire minor league career is to be seen, but he's been good.
Sure, and they throw him to the Wolves, and if he falls apart, it's no really sweat off their back, because he's not a guy that they are banking on for the future. I get that. It's kind of a defeatist mentality, but I understand it.
Well, there's a lot of that in the locker room down at Target Field right now.
I'm afraid that there is. So
looks like we got someone who needs a free beer. He's sporting a cowboy hat. Come on up here, sir. The crowd. He's a crowd favorite. I think it's just because he's got the cowboy hat on, but yes. Oh, and I like the belt buckle, too. It's a big old buckle. Right into the microphone. First, tell us your name, sir.
Oh, my name is Jerry Livingston. And I got to tell you guys, the hat don't make the man.
Really?
No.
Some guys are all hat, no cattle, right?
That's right.
Now, are you our Shakopee guy? Are you, is he?
Canterbury Park? Oh, I got horses at Canterbury.
Southern Shakopee.
All right.
Oh, there we go. Call to the post.
Music to his ears.
Looks like you got to get going. What's your question?
Okay, I got a question for you guys. I got to go. What was the first shortstop to hit 500 home runs?
Ooh.
Shortstop.
That's a good question. Yeah, grab a beer.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I didn't know there were going to be trivia questions.
Yeah, they could be any
we
question.
do get that fairly regularly.
Was it Mr. Cub?
Yeah.
Jerry, is it Mr. Cub himself, Ernie Banks?
I'm going to go with
Mr. Cub.
Thank you.
You got it right?
I like it.
Oh, he played a little first base towards the end of his career, but yeah, he was mostly.
I like that, but the first one that pops into your head is A-Rod, and then you think about it, you go, well, there's no way that A-Rod hit 500 home runs while he was still playing shortstop. He was at third base long by then.
You know what happened in baseball history was back in 1991. Let's see if we can relive a Twins moment, although he wasn't a Twin at a time.
On August 4th.
Swing the line drive, base hit, there it is, number 3,000 for Rod Carew. Stops at third. And
That was against the Twins. This was 91, though. It was,
what was it?
85?
Was it? Ken Herbeck was
It
on
was
first.
off. It was off Viola.
Yes, it was off Frank Viola.
Frankie V. Yeah.
They're going to go out and share this moment with
Ken Herbeck gives him the, all right, give me that high five.
Yeah, right.
And then the manager comes out and gives him first base.
hugging Rod
Gene Mock, that's right.
Was it
I think it was 84.
At the Metrodome or
No,
at
it was at Anaheim.
Yeah, we have someone in the crowd here that's shouting out the year for us.
What year was it?
Gene Mock came out, he took first base and gave it.
You have to come on up here. Come on up here. We're being heckled by the horse table. Hold on. Another question from the horse table. Nick,
I was asking you
yeah.
if you were talking about the World Series that the Twins won.
Oh, no. We're talking about when Rod Carew hit his 3,000. You just want a beer. Go ahead, grab a beer. Coors Light, an ice cold Coors Light. We want to thank Coors Light for being a friend to the
August
show.
4th, 1985, according to the Google.
Okay, all right.
So-
August 4th. So, yeah, it was today is August 4th. So
Right.
it's this day in history.
30 years ago today.
You got a question? You got a full beer. He's got a question. All right, tell us your name again.
My name is Jack Goldberg. I'm right here in Locally in Victoria. This
right.
gentleman here with the Twins hat on.
Yes.
Bonafide fan for
Yes,
sure.
Obviously.
Nice.
Very intelligent fan. We've got two comments to make.
All right, do that.
All right. We have a new member of the Twins. You probably aren't even aware of him yet. It's the next David Ortiz. No.
Kenny Vargas?
Yeah, very close on that, Kenny Vargas. No.
The right-handed.
Sano.
Oh, yeah.
Sano, yeah.
Sano is
sure,
the next
yeah.
David Ortiz. You heard it here.
Probably.
Now,
Could
he's
be.
got a comment on the Twins making the playoffs here.
All right.
We're a little disappointed in what's happening up there.
No kidding. What do you think? What are the chances? What do they got to do?
I'm Ron Axel. I'm from Leadville, Colorado.
Ooh.
And Tulowitzki would really look good at short for the Twins since they can't field or hit. But I do want to thank all you guys for sending the National League batting champions the last 2 years. So if you'd like to send us Joe Mauer next year, we'll make a good hitter out of him again.
That's not too unlikely.
Awesome.
Well, since you're from Colorado, we have Coors Light for you, right from Golden, Colorado.
Silver bullet.
Yeah. Yeah,
Those
show.
mountains-
Yeah, grab it.
Yeah, those mountains
for
look
it.
pretty blue.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Were there any rumors as to what we'd have to give up to get Tulowitzki?
Everything.
Gibson
Yeah, well,
for
I mean,
sure was one, right?
Well, I don't know that anything. I don't think there's any informed rumors. It was mostly
No.
speculation, Andrew.
But Gibson and Barrios just a start.
Yeah.
I mean, just to even have them listen to you.
Well, they were very pitcher obsessed. Were the Rockies, and if you look, they got a pretty decent haul. If just one of those guys pans out, which one of them you might come out of it with a number 1 or 2, or maybe a number 2 or 3 starter and a closer out of what they got out of Toronto. That would have been hard to match.
Well, when I look at most of these trades that went down, and Jerry's back.
All right, here we go.
All right, hold that thought.
Sorry to interrupt your very important conversation here. But what is the only baseball player to be taken number 1 in the draft, become an all-star, and played on a national championship football team and was an All-American in football?
Whoa.
Bo Jackson.
Not Bo Jackson.
Oh, Frank Thomas. Not Frank Thomas.
National
He
champ.
shakes his head
Football.
so cocky.
No.
Number 1.
It's like he just dropped the microphone.
Number 1 overall, first overall draft pick.
We need more details on this. We're trying to get warm. Are we getting warm? Are we close? Not even close.
He was overall baseball player taken in the baseball draft from college that year.
Okay.
He was a senior in college.
Okay.
He played out his college career. He was an All-American in college football and played on a national championship football team.
What decade are we talking?
And he was an all-star in baseball.
Well, stick around.
Jeez
Hold on.
Louise.
Anyone got an answer?
No.
All right, what is the answer, sir? What is it?
Darren Ernstead.
Oh, that's
What
right.
year was that?
Really?
About 95. He was the punter for Nebraska.
Grab another beer.
Grab another beer. Give him to you can pass them out if you want.
Yeah, that's a good one. Darren Erstad.
Darren Erstad.
From North Dakota.
From North Dakota, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey,
he's now the head coach at Nebraska, I think, isn't he?
We're gonna take a quick break to thank some of the other sponsors, but we'll keep talking about the Twins. And we're wondering, we thought it was going to be a different season, but maybe it's here we go again with the Twins, right?
Don't let your computer problems drive you mad. We are MacMen, Minnesota's premier tech consultants and problem solvers for Macs, mobile devices, troubleshooting, training, and much more. No more dragging your computer all over town because we come to you. We love making house calls to your home or small business. MacMen. Call 612-345-8005.
The term foodie can sometimes come across as a tickle pretentious. BT and Lydia are here to demystify the term and reclaim it for the sake of good food. Their weekly podcast brings in fellow foodies and culture creators from the Twin Cities to talk about all things food. Find this duo only on the Alive and Social Network.
Hey everybody, this is comedian Paul Mercurio, and I'm very excited to say that I packed up my podcast, The Paul Mercurio Show, which wasn't my first choice for a name. My first choice was Go Ahead, Touch It, but apparently that didn't test well. Well, I'm taking my podcast and I'm moving it to the Alive and Social Network, which is weird because I'm neither alive nor very social. I've interviewed a few people you might know, like Sir Paul McCartney. Yeah, that guy. He was in a band or something, I'm not sure. Stephen Colbert, Bob Costas, Jay Leno, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kristen Chenoweth, and many, many more. I've won Emmy and Peabody Awards for my work on The Daily Show. I've had my own Comedy Central special, been on HBO, and I'm excited to be part of the new network. Paul Mercurio Show is available on iTunes, Android, and available at paulmercurio.com. Listen to my show every week. Every week you will get rich. How? I give you a foolproof method to go out and make $100,000 without ever leaving your couch. Okay, that's a lie, but the podcast, it's good.
The Rusty Gatenby Review is the entertaining show about entertainment from movies, music, and more. Award-winning TV guy Rusty Gatenby and his review is the podcast with the biggest cast in entertainment, part of the Alive and Social Network. You can get that Minnesota connection to Hollywood and beyond any time of the day or night simply by clicking on the RustyGatenbyReview.com. That's the RustyGatenbyReview.com, part of the Alive and Social Network.
Yes, it's been kind of a heartbreaker lately for those Minnesota Twins. Welcome back. We are live here in Floyd's in Victoria, where they are having fun. They're having too much fun out here on the patio. Another beautiful, sunny Minnesota afternoon. It's August, man. We're rounding third base on our summer season, and we are heading to home for fall.
Hopefully we won't run into Eduardo Nunez like Andrew McCutchen did last Thursday or Wednesday, the day game against Pittsburgh. That was your yakety sax play, having the Benny Hill music going where the ball skips by Rosario in right field, then he throws it in and it skips past Nunez, and then he turns around and runs into McCutchen, so McCutchen gets to go home. That epitomized what's been going on with the Twins the last 10 days or so.
We've had a lot of great questions. Did we just have a question about someone? How much does it cost to finish your basement?
Yeah.
That was the question.
Yeah.
About $100.
Did we answer that? About $100. Hang a couple of posters, throw a rug down, you're fine.
So I do have a question for you.
All right, we got
Watching
another
the game
question.
last night, so Fernando
Closer to the
Rodney,
mic, sir.
I'm Pat. How are
Pat,
you?
all right. Talk close into that mic.
Eat that
So
mic.
Rodney
There you go.
comes out with his hat flipped on sideways last night. Bugs the heck out of me because if you're a ball player, look like a ball player, right? I think one of the problems is you got Plouffe coming out with his shirt unbuttoned. Can the man button his shirt up? I mean, you got to tighten it up, right? I think it starts at the top, works its way down. You got guys booting balls, doing things. Be a ball player out there. That's just a comment, not a question.
Okay.
All right. You do get a beer if you want for that comment. Thank you.
Well, in defense of that question, Brian Dozier is about as traditional a ball player as you could possibly look out at the infield at, and he's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with Plouffe's production, but maybe he'd be the next Dozier if he dressed more like him, right?
I've never even noticed that Plouffe has a button open.
Yeah, he does. He does. He plays with about half the top of his shirt unbuttoned, but it's hard to notice unless
in the NFL, you get fined if you don't have your socks
Right.
yanked up and all that stuff. Not in baseball.
Baseball, you get a little bit more freedom to decorate your uniform the way you
Express
want.
yourself.
Yeah, a little bit.
What's funny is that I've actually had a friend talk with me about Trevor Plouffe and his jersey, and the very first person I responded back with was Fernando Rodney. So that was kind of funny that you mentioned both of them there just in the same comment.
So we've talked a lot about the trade deadline so
Yes, go
far,
ahead.
and one point I was going to make earlier was that if you look at all the trades that have happened in the last week or so, leading up to the deadline, and look at what the teams gave up to get the big names, the contending teams gave up for guys like Tulowitzki and for David Price and all the other Gomez and the other names that moved. I don't see how the Twins could have put together a comparable package to make those trades and still look themselves in the mirror in the morning and feel good about themselves, because they would have been giving up guys like Barrios, guys like Kyle Gibson, potentially guys like Buxton or Sano to get some of the really big names. Kepler, some of the guys that they really are high on in the minors. And what you're doing is you're cutting off your future to try and get into the playoffs this year, which their only path to the playoffs this year is a wild card spot. There's no way they're going to catch the Royals, even if they get Tulowitzki and David Price. They're not catching the Royals this year. So you're mortgaging your future for a potential one-game playoff this year when they weren't even expecting to be competitive this year. They were just trying to, stay above ground or stay above water and not drown.
Not be embarrassed.
Right. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. See the Oakland A's of last season, who mortgaged their future to get into a one-game playoff, backed into the playoffs, lost, and pretty much lost everything they had going for them in their minor league system, mortgaging it on a one-game playoff last year.
Right. So, I don't see how the Twins could have matched any of those prospect packages. And it gets to the bigger point of, when are you playing for? I know it's hard to tell Twins fans to be patient because they were crap for 4 years, or this is 11, 12, 13. They had 4 awful years in a row. It's hard to tell them to be patient. But this team was not built to be competitive this year. What they've gotten so far has been a nice surprise. But they were not built to be competitive this year. Their best talent is still coming with Buxton and Sano getting experience. It's great that Sano's up and doing as well as he is, but he's not in the position to carry a team to the playoffs yet. Buxton got his feet wet. Perhaps he'll get back in there, but again, he's not in position to really be part of a contending team right now. He's just kind of a nice extra piece. And this is still sort of a developmental year for them. And to mortgage the future for someone to help you along in a developmental year is it's a terrible strategy.
Anybody that talks about why don't they make more moves? Why don't they trade and all stuff? I referred to 2011. Remember back when 2010 when we did make some trades, and by 2011 we were depleted. We had no good prospects coming up.
Yeah, you can't complain that they didn't go trade for Tulowitzki or Price, and also still be upset about Matt Capps for Wilson Ramos.
Right.
And yet I think every Twins fan is still upset about Matt Capps for Wilson Ramos. And if you're going to be upset about that, then you got to understand why Terry Ryan basically stood pat right now. Because, that sometimes those trades will come back to bite you. And there's reasons that guys like that are on the block.
I'll tell you the real under-the-radar trade that I really wish would not have happened was, we used to have that 7-footer, Loke Van Mill.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see a 7-foot relief pitcher. My God, it would have been awesome.
Where did he go?
We traded him to the Angels for that 8th inning guy. Who?
Brian Fuentes?
Yeah. And he was good, but he got injured. It was,
right.
It was a
Oh, man.
Wow, you're flashing back.
Loke
I kind
Van
of
Mill.
forgot
Oh,
about
my
that.
God.
Actually, they had John Roush around the same time,
Yeah,
too. So,
yeah.
I mean, I was having dreams of ripping off of David Robinson and Tim Duncan. We were going to have our own Twin Towers.
Yeah,
there
could
with
you
some
imagine
powers.
In the bullpen.
Extracurricular basketball game you could have set up with the Twins lineup
I
at
was
that
going to
point
say
in time?
he could have slid over to the Timberwolves and been a double
It's right-
Minnesota hero.
Right across the street. He could have
Yeah.
played day-night doubleheaders, different sports.
All right, so since we're flashing back, I have a quick point. It's actually not a quick point. It's kind of an extended point, but I'll try to wrap it up in that what the Twins are kind of suffering through right now, in my opinion, is the results of a decision that they did not make, that they should have made in 2012 or after the 2012 season, which was to gut this team, knock it down to the studs, and start, building it back from
Absolutely.
the bottom up. You can look at 2011 and say, and they were terrible after winning the division in 2010. They were terrible in 2011. You can look at that and say, all right, it's understandable that they didn't tear it apart then because think that's probably a fluke. You had almost everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
And not to cut you off, Patrick, and if I remember right, just touch on that 2011, they had a short stretch after, I think, the All-Star break where they showed some life and looked like they might be doing the historic Twins show up in the second half, and they didn't.
Right. So that's why you can leave it alone at 2011 and think, all right, let's come back in 2012. We'll get reorganized. We'll be fine. But by the trading deadline on July 31st of 2012, they were 15 games under 500. And the only move they made was shipping off Liriano to the White Sox for Eduardo Escobar and Pedro Hernandez. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that was even after the trade deadline. So that was like August 5th or something. So they made one kind of low-impact trade when they had on their team in 2012 Willingham Willingham was having a career year. Remember, he was in the midst. That's right. Cuddyer was gone because
Was he gone by then? Okay.
Willingham took his money basically.
Yep.
So they had they had Willingham in the midst of his career year, and he was 33 years old. They should have known that they weren't going to get that again, kind of like Suzuki last year. Plouffe was a potential trade guy. You know, he was young, but he was also he had that stretch where he hit like 15 home runs in a month or a month and a half. You thought, well, maybe you get something for him because they were down on him. As much as anyone wants to say that they knew all along he was going to be great, everybody in that organization was down on him. They were this close to DFAing him the year before, and then he caught fire. So he was potentially tradable. Morneau, Span and Revere, they ended up trading them in that coming off season. If they knew that they were down on him and they were going to move them, that would have been a good sign to maybe potentially do it. And Jared Burton was still was really ripping it up. And as everyone knows, an arm is valuable. But instead of coming back, instead of gutting the team then, they came back in 2013 with 34-year-old Willingham, 32-year-old Ryan Dumit, 29-year-old Cleet Thomas, 39-year-old Jamie Carroll, 29-year-old Chris Colabello. These are all guys who are getting heavy innings. Correa at 32, Pelfrey 29, Burton at 32, Dunsing at 30.
Yeah.
And they stuck with these guys because they went half measures. They never went all in or all out. They never said we're gonna go for it, and they never said we're gonna hold back. They couldn't go for it because they didn't have the talent. They just didn't have enough talent to do it, and they couldn't. But my theory is they couldn't rebuild or say that they're going to rebuild and act like they're rebuilding because of Target Field.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And because
It was a
they
business
knew,
standpoint.
they knew
They
the
had just
fans.
risen ticket prices.
Yep. Fans would go crazy if they said, "Well, we just go up in this new ballpark," and even though because by the fluke of how the roster was aging and the talent was retiring, it would have been the time to rebuild. It just happened to coincide with the opening of Target Field. But they couldn't do it.
And I'll tell you, Patrick, and I said this at the time, it's not just hindsight. The biggest mistake of that whole situation was the Willingham part. Because you had a guy coming off, I believe, 35 home runs, 34 home runs, like 96 RBIs on a team that was awful. And you had him, like you said, at a certain age, he had the best year of his career. This team wasn't what I actually believe the time that they should have traded him wasn't even necessarily at the trade deadline. It was during that offseason. Because there would have been serious demand for a player like him. And you weren't going to get top level prospects, but you would have got some very nice pieces. partially because of the production the year before, he had an extremely team-friendly contract.
Right.
He had 2 years left at something like 14 or 16
$7 million a year.
Teams would have absolutely jumped on that. A team that needed an outfield bat with power from the right side would have given you a pretty nice package. And instead, you went into a season in 2013 where you had no hopes of competing, and you had a guy in the outfield who was aging quickly. No point in having him on that team. They got nothing for him. And that does seem to be a Twins motto at times, is that they trade low, they sell low.
Right.
Or somebody has a resurgence with the team and they really believe in it. Even like we've mentioned Kurt Suzuki earlier. Like last year, he was playing well, so they look at that and they said, you know what, we need to give you a contract extension. Ryan Domit had the same thing also. They had a 1-year contract with him. They're like, hey, you're doing pretty well. Here's a contract extension.
It's almost
Phil
like
Hughes was another.
The Twins believe that if a guy has a resurgent type year, that he's just going to find the magic and hold on to it forever.
Right, that he's found it, that there's something magical about Target Field that allows this kind of performance and is it's going to come
and
back.
We've got an interesting situation a bit like that this year now that we all believe in our hearts, and I think there is some evidence to show that they're going to compete next year, but we've got a guy on the roster this year that's having a heck of a year compared to what he's done recently. He's a fresh face, or he's a face that everybody likes around here. It's Torrey Hunter.
Oh, I thought it was
now,
yes, exactly.
Do we really believe that he's going to do this next year and the year after and the year after?
No, but they'll bring him back.
Right.
Although in this case, I will say I do think there's something to be said for this ephemeral chemistry thing that Hunter really. I think that's usually overblown for about 90% of the guys you hear them talk about. I do think there is something about the way Hunter just kind of keeps things loose and also picks times to call guys out.
It's more than just
talent.
joking around and slapping guys on the back, though. From what I understand, like Hunter spends a lot of time with Hicks, and that's why Hicks has been catching fire, is because he spends a lot of times with him and he's talking. He does batting practice with him all the time, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
Right.
But also, I mean, don't discount keeping it light in the clubhouse.
Right.
I really think that. I mean, I don't poo-poo that at all.
Which is one of the reasons I actually like Trevor May. Have you seen him as a comedian?
Yeah, he's a goof.
The guy
I follow him on Twitter,
He's got good. His video for the All-Star game was hilarious.
Yes,
it was
yes.
Letterman-esque.
Well,
Right,
and that clubhouse in 11, 12, 13, for Gardy's last 4 years, that clubhouse was a morgue, an absolute morgue. And nobody wanted to be there. And you could be on a losing team and still keep it light and have a little bit of fun, and at least have guys not trying, running out of the clubhouse the second the game ends.
Yeah.
But that place was just the worst clubhouse I've ever seen.
Right. And to be clear, that's not to say jettison Torrey Hunter as soon as the season's over. For one thing, you're not going to get anything for him. The other teams know what he is. The point is, at any type of negotiating or anything that may come up this offseason, keep in mind that the age
he's 40
and the fact that this year was a blip
aberration
on the radar.
And you don't think he's going to say, I'm done? I suppose there's money to be made.
I heard today that he said he hasn't made up his mind and he doesn't want to talk about it while there's still a pennant race going on.
Yeah.
So
Well, makes sense.
So he'll talk about it, in 2 weeks or in the offseason
contract,
or whenever it happens.
any contract from here on out needs to match not this year's production, but what you actually expect and what you believe he's going to do in the future.
With Buxton, Rosario, and Hicks, I mean, don't you have to have a talk with him in the offseason? Like, if you come back, you are a utility outfielder.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
You're the fourth outfielder. You're DHing on days when, maybe Sano needs a day off, or Sano's playing third and Plouffe gets a day, or Sano's at third and Plouffe's at first and Joe gets a day, whatever it is. But Torrey can't be coming back thinking he's going to get more than, 85 starts next year.
Not to mention the other two guys that are in AAA right now that have potential to be awesome next year.
Arcia and Kepler in Double-A, they're definitely high on him.
How about who almost had the hit all the bases?
Rosario.
Yeah, and he just
it's been documented on this show. He has been about as pleasant as well. Now we've got two of them out in the outfield with Hicks and him.
That last out, by the way, was a hit.
Everybody talks about the fifth at bat where he lined out and the shortstop made a heck of a play. Even his fourth at bat when he had already hit for a double, triple,
the
and a home run, he hit a pretty hard ball at center field. He hit it right at the center field.
Sure, that was going to be a
If that's in the gap, it's one of those things where you might want to try to act like you tripped over first base.
Because who wants to go home with two doubles, a triple, and a home home run. I mean, that's good. Damn it.
Yeah, trade him for the cycle. Well, we're getting near the end of this show. I can smell the wings. They must be getting ready.
That's right. Justin's over there doing his thing. He's fantastic with the grilled wings. And, and I didn't even talk about it, Rusty. Tonight we've got a Minnesota Twins pro baseball game, so we've got a dozen wings and a pitcher of beer for $13.
What?
Yeah, we've got
you guys insane?
We've got some great food deals too. We've got a blackened pork chop special with couscous and squash. It's $10. We've got mini lamb sliders with chips. I've never tried those. Somebody that's willing to dare a little bit, let me know what you think if you try it. But we don't have our in-house resident taste tester this week. Brandon is usually the one that makes sure he tries our food specials and gives me immediate feedback.
Do you got your Cecil burger? I heard you were working on that. No?
Not touching that one.
Too soon?
We're too close to Edina or Bloomington. We're too close to Bloomington for that one.
That wasn't the truth. I was lying. Oh, that hurt.
Our in-house comedians like these guys are awful.
What time is the game tonight? It's in Toronto, right?
Yeah, so if you're listening live, it's
coming up
going on.
So what has to happen tonight for them to win? It's
Hughes.
It's Hughes, and
Hughes is homer prone, so he's going to give up some. Let's just pray that they're solo homers.
That's right.
The outfielders are going to have to grow to be about 25 feet tall each for him to not give up home runs. So.
And Hughes has had like a great stretch here, but it's about to collapse tonight.
Yeah. He's at a stretch where pitchers wins. It shows you that pitching wins is a flawed stat because he pitched better when he wasn't getting wins.
Yeah.
Now he's 6-0, and his stats in that stretch, his last 6 wins, are not that great.
I believe that the Yankees 10-1 game was about his only really impressive game in this last stretch, revolving around the All-Star break. Other than that, he's really given up a lot of home runs lately. I mean, what is he now, second in Major League Baseball in home runs given up? I think he's got 25.
Yeah, the Thursday game that Rosario almost had the cycle, that was Hughes, as he called it, a 5-and-dive outing. He got his 5 innings in. I think he gave up
5 runs.
Five runs, but he just happens to be pitching on days when the team's hitting this year. So that's how it is.
So it's not looking well, is what you're saying. For tonight.
No, probably not. I mean, I don't think you can be too confident on any of these games coming up with Toronto, just because that lineup right now is pretty sick.
But we can hope and cross our fingers for some wackiness in Toronto.
Absolutely.
Some mishaps and mayhem.
Yeah, I think with Marco Estrada pitching, he's basically a fastball changeup guy, and he'll give up some home runs too. So let's just hope he hangs a couple changeups.
Let's hope we can somehow win a shootout.
Sano will put one up in Conseco land up there.
It'll land in one of the hotel rooms
hit
in
one
center
into the
field.
hotel.
That sounds good.
So we always discuss this a week. So next Tuesday, do you have one last question? There's one last beer, so this is good timing. All right, this is from the Table of Ladies, yes?
We would like to know. I'm Charity, by the way.
Dudes there
Let's
now.
hear it for Cousins. Woo! Cousins at Floyd's. We want to know who was the last Rookie of the Year for the Twins.
Oh, all right. We'll think about that. Hold on.
Marty Cordova.
I was going to say Marty Cordova, too.
I think it was Marty Cordova.
Was it Marty Cordova? Yeah.
Mauer didn't get it.
1995.
Do you know who it is?
She doesn't know. She's just wondering.
Give me a thumbs up if it was Marty Cordova.
They don't know either.
No?
They're looking it up. No, Cordova was after that.
Cordova was 95. Hit what, 30, 28 home runs? He hit a lot of home runs that year.
You might as well have walked up and said, "Can I have a free beer?"
That'd be a great question.
That's a good question. The answer is yes.
A question is a question.
Did I hear that Knobloch is like tweeting recently like, "Can I have my jersey retired ceremony again?"
He calls everybody losers.
I promise not to hit anyone. What's going on there? That's never going to
Well,
happen, right?
we can't let him play in any of the alumni games because we'd have to put a net up behind first base, make sure nobody gets taken out in the second row of target field.
He can underhand it. He's old now.
There is live music coming up, though, right, tonight? Is that correct?
Yes, there is. Michael Handler, friend of the program. He was, I believe, one of the first weeks that we did the live music on the bit. He was on. So Michael Handler's a big hit here. Everybody likes to come out and see him on Tuesday nights. So stop out to Floyd's. We already got pretty much a full patio, huh, Rusty?
Well, let's just hope it's not another heartbreaker tonight, shall we? Shall we? Isaac, thanks for hanging out with us. man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're anytime. Come on by. It's Floyd's, man. It's happening here.
Brandon might have to fight to get his job back. We got a couple of nice pinch hitters off
Brandon,
the bench.
doesn't ring a bell.
Brandon.
No.
Yeah.
See you next Tuesday.
Don't worry, guys. I already bought my flight back to the minor leagues. So.
There you go.
No, you're welcome anytime as well.
You still got a few options left, huh?
There you go. It's another Twins Tuesday. Enjoy yourself on the deck. All right, behave yourself on the deck. Go Twins. We'll see you next Tuesday.